Portugal playing Switzerland in the round of 16, the final round of 16 tie at the World Cup. And if you thought Brazil looked pretty good for 45 minutes against South Korea, Portugal looked fantastic for about 85 minutes of the 90 against the Swiss. Apart from when the Swiss get their goal and a 5-minute spell just after that, this was just one-way traffic. The Swiss looked beaten from the kickoff mentally. They just were dreadful. And what is interesting is I think this Portuguese side looks better with Ronaldo coming off the bench and not starting. This Portuguese side with Goncalo Ramos, the young Benfica striker in the middle, Bruno Fernandes and Bernardo Silva feeding off him, getting involved. They look better. They look more relaxed, more flexible in attack, more fluid in attack, and there's more movement up front. There's more pace up front, and it's just. It was ridiculous tonight. That is the most complete attacking performance at this tournament. And look, England got 6, obviously, against Iran. Obviously, Brazil put in 4 against South Korea last night. Spain obviously had that 7-goal victory over a diabolical Costa Rica side in the group stage. But to do that in a knockout game, score 6 in a knockout match, is ridiculous. Yes, Brazil had a brilliant 45 minutes. Portugal, with Ronaldo not starting, looked better without him in the side. That's how ridiculous this performance was. Some of these young players like Ramos and Leao look like they're veterans. Look like they've been doing this a long time. And it was just one-way traffic. João Felix looks like he's, been an international for 10 years. He's in the formative years of his international career and his career in general. The first goal for Ramos is just straight off a throw. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. And he shouldn't be scoring from that angle. Jan Sommer, brilliant goalkeeper. He's a cult hero for goalkeeping fans all over the place and cultured football fans. He's had an absolute, I wouldn't say he's had a shocker tonight, but he's had a night he wants to forget. The defence in front of him gave him no support. So Ramos scores his first goal in 17 minutes. And you're thinking, okay, the Swiss are still in this game. They can turn this round. No, they can't. They were losing the 50-50s. They were losing the territory, and they had a lot of possession themselves. The possession was pretty even, is what you do with it. The Portuguese, everything was positive with pace. Pepe scores his goal in 33 minutes from a corner, and he's dangerous in the air. And he's 39, and he's out-muscled younger defenders, younger players. He's physically out-muscled them. That should not be happening. And he played the entire match. I mean, the guy's a machine. Whether you like or dislike Pepe and some of his antics in the past and whatever, the guy's a warrior. Let's be honest about that. One of the oldest outfield players at the tournament, apart from I think Dani Alves, I think slightly older. Ridiculous. Pep had a fantastic night tonight. He scored in 33 minutes. And everything the Portuguese did was at pace. Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes, João Felix, Goncalo Ramos, they're all interlinking up front. And of course, then you're going to think that when they're passing out from the back, it was seamless. It's the second half where Switzerland completely fall apart. Completely. There's a 5-minute spell around Akanji's goal where there's a little flicker of life there, but Ramos' second goal is on 50 minutes, and then Rafael Guerreiro pops up 5 minutes later, and he's a wing back. Like, he barely scored. He scored 2 goals in his international career in 55 appearances or something, 60 appearances. He's not a regular goal scorer. He finished that like a winger or a striker. That is ridiculous finish. Then Akanji gets his goal literally straight from the resulting following phase of play. The Swiss get a corner. The Portuguese are 4-0 up. They're just having fun at this point. They do switch off in defence, and Akanji should not be having such an easy tap-in. So there is some defensive frailties there where they have switched off in a commanding position. They will be unhappy that they've given away such a soft goal, considering that for 85 minutes out of the 90 plus a little bit of added time, they were like imperious. They will be disappointed with that. But they let that fluster them. They don't suddenly switch off completely and the Swiss get a couple of smash and grab goals. That was the only real moment. It was Akanji's goal and then a few flashes after that. Misplaced passes, inaccurate passing, sloppy fouls, sloppy positioning. Ramos gets his hat-trick on 67 minutes. This is his first start. He's had one substitute appearance for 30 odd minutes. That is ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's the second hat-trick of his senior career. He had one for Benfica in the Champions League at the beginning of the season. That's ridiculous. And this is without Ronaldo on the field. Let that sink in. Ronaldo's not even on the field yet. Yes, Ronaldo comes on for Goncalo Ramos. He has a goal ruled off for offside. He's about 2-3 yards offside. If the defenders are an extra half a yard further forward, you cannot be offside when the opposition defence is in your half. So he's tried to time that run deliberately, and he's got it slightly wrong. I mean, we're talking half a yard. If the defenders are half a yard the other way, he's onside, because you cannot be offside if the defensive line is in your half of the field. Little bit of the offside rule, and Ronaldo knows that because he's lost a half yard, but he knew that. But he's just got his timing wrong. If he doesn't get his timing wrong, we have a 7-1 scoreline. So let that sink in. Leao's goal, I think, is the best goal of the night. I don't know what Jan Sommer is just. He's done. He's held up his hands at this point. He's had a night he wants to forget, where he's spending more time picking the ball out of the net than stopping the ball going in the net. And he's a cult hero for cultured football fans, as I say, with for some of his antics last year at the Euros and previous antics at the World Cup. But the Swiss were really bad. Obviously they knew Ronaldo wasn't starting. There have been question marks about the Portuguese camp and Ronaldo, and obviously what happened at Man United, and has he carried on some of that egotistical, selfish behaviour. There has been rumours coming out of the Portuguese camp of ill discipline with Ronaldo. The reason why he's been dropped, his reaction to being subbed off in the last group game, that kind of stuff. Is that smoke and mirrors? Is that smoke and mirrors? But this Portuguese side, what I have noticed watching a few of their games at this World Cup and at the Euros last year, is they actually look better when Ronaldo's not on the field. I generally believe that they look more flexible and more fluid without Ronaldo on the field, because that forward unit has more pace and mobility. Ronaldo has clearly lost that yard and a half of pace and lost that step. And yes, he's a focal point. He's great in the air. He's great from set plays. But Ramos and João Felix, they offer more movement off the ball and more pace off the ball and pace with the ball. They look scary. And this performance highlights there is life after Ronaldo. There's confidence in other players' ability. They don't need Ronaldo to be the figurehead. They have a confidence in their own ability and their own skill. And this Portuguese side looks a little bit more talented than people realise. Little bit's an understatement. They look very good. And complete opposite to Spain. Portugal didn't dominate the possession, didn't have to, but when they had possession, they moved it at pace. Their forward players, one of them would stay in a striking centre forward because position. So Ramos may end up on the wing, and then João Felix is in that centre forward position, and they were fluid in attack. Whereas with Spain, it was all in front of the Moroccan defence. Portugal never allowed the Swiss, because the Swiss. This is not a bad Swiss side. Let's be honest about that. This group of Swiss players got to, the latter stages of the Euros last summer. They got through the first knockout stage last summer. They were solid defensively. They have a little bit, in attack. They're not a hopeless side. They weren't allowed to settle defensively into their system. They couldn't cope with the movement and pace, because rather than just the Portuguese, as in they have done previously, pass in front, very similar to Spain, and be a little bit rigid, the Portuguese were fluid tonight. Pass, move, pace, forward. If the player has to go back, that next phase, they're always trying to look forward. And if they have to go backwards passing, they do it quickly. They're not lethargic about it. There's movement. This is all about, if you are going to move the ball, even backwards, forwards, sideways, you do it quickly and decisively. Spain didn't do that. And I was looking forward to a Spain-Portugal knockout game. but instead we've got Portugal, Morocco, and I think actually the Moroccans could be a very awkward opponent for the Portuguese because, unlike the Swiss, they will be very organised and very, very okay then. If you want to have the ball in 2/3, they will set up, I think, exactly the same way they set up against Spain. And this Portuguese side, while they weren't really tested defensively tonight, there are defensive lapses in them. Pepe isn't the quickest centre back, and that Moroccan front three look a bit pacey as well. I actually think this quarter final coming up could be possibly the best of the quarterfinals because we really have a Portuguese side that in the last few tournaments has been a little bit rigid and a bit too Ronaldo focused. If they start Ronaldo, I think the Moroccans want that. I think what the Portuguese should do what they did tonight, not start Ronaldo, and make the Portuguese have to make the Moroccans really work defensively because the Swiss couldn't cope without Ronaldo. But as soon as Ronaldo came on, the Swiss looked a little bit more competent defensively. And yeah, the game's won, but they looked a bit more comfortable knowing that okay, he's not as quick. We know what he's going to do. We played against this guy many times. We know what this guy's about. The young Gonzalo Ramos, they couldn't cope with him. They couldn't cope with João Felix. These younger players, there's something about them we don't know what they're fully capable of. And first hat trick of the tournament as well. There you go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comments section below, and I will have some more content for you very, very soon.